So today's topic is chapter 12, right? So, last time we kind of took a diversion. We started talking about other stuff just to make sure we are sure about the subtle body and all of that. लेकिन उससे पहले, if you remember, we talked about Ishwar. And I said it's important to talk about Ishwar because we'll be talking about it in chapter 12. So I just want to make sure everybody's, we're all on clear about it. There was we talked about the intelligent cause and the material cause. You remember? And how
Yeah.
what that
Yeah.
means is that if something is the material cause, that means that is the essence of everything in the universe. If it's the material cause of the universe, that's what the universe is made up of. And Ishwar is also the intelligent cause. So he's also the intelligence. So Ishwar is the intelligence which is permeating this universe. So that's, if you put the two together, intelligent cause and material cause, that means whatever is the intelligent cause is also the material cause. That means that intelligence itself is the material from which the creation has come about. Yeah. Right? Because that means basically, if intelligence is the material, that means that material is everywhere. Just like we said in a chair, if wood is the material cause, you touch any part of the chair, it'll be wood. You don't have to go looking for wood. So Ishwar, which is intelligence, is permeating this universe. You touch any part of the universe, it will be intelligent. There will be order. And that intelligence is called Ishwar. So in other words, if we, from the biggest thing that you can think of, galaxies which have order, to atoms, to quarks, to whatever, they have order. How do you know they have order? Because they can be studied. You can make laws about them. You can understand their pattern of movement and behavior. Only because there's order can you actually study something and say, okay, if this happens, this will happen. If it was all chaos, you can't study chaos, right? You can't study, if things are just random, you can't study them because आज ये हो रहा है, कल कुछ और हो जाएगा. But there is an order. So whenever there's an order in things, that means there is some intelligence involved. Whether that is a person, like a human being, creates something like a computer which has got intelligence or order. So there is an intelligent cause involved, or the intelligence is within it itself. So in the case of the universe, the intelligence is within the universe itself, and it's everywhere in the universe. And that's what we call Ishwar. Okay, that was the saransh, the sort of the root of what we were saying. So that's Vedanta's concept of Ishwar. And it's true, that we say Ishwar is nothing but Brahman, the Sagun Brahman. So when it is intelligence which manifests itself as this creation, every part of creation is intelligent, it becomes Sagun. When it's not manifesting, that intelligence is potential. It's basically Chit. It's Nirgun Brahman. Okay. But and then we also said that everything is Ishwar. That means the good things are also Ishwar and the bad things are also Ishwar, because there's order in bad also. Even the evil has an order. It's not that the evil have no order and no intelligence. There is intelligence everywhere. So Ishwar is in both. So Gita first said in chapter 10, let's talk about the good, all the vibhutis, the very nice things, and it laid them out. And it laid them out it's a way to help the layman like us understand that everything is Ishwar. So instead of just saying everything is Ishwar, he said, Bhagavan Krishna said, a river is also Ishwar, Ganga is Ishwar, Himalaya is Ishwar. He just counted everything. जो भी उसको मन में आता है, सब बोल दिया. कुछ भी कर दो, ईश्वर ही होगा. Then he went on in chapter 11 to talk about Vishwarupa Ishwar. Vishwarupa matlab, now he's saying not just the good vibhutis, but the Vishwarupa itself, everything. That means including the bad things are Ishwar. So then he started talking about the bad things. Ishwar as the destroyer, as the violence in this universe, which we see around us, which invokes fear in us, that kind of violence, that immense scale of violence, which is happening all around us in the universe. That is Ishwar also. And that violence consumes everybody. It consumes every individual, good and bad. and recycles through. So that is Ishwar. So it was trying to tell you all about the Swarupa of Ishwar. What is Ishwar like? What is Ishwar? The Swarupa of Ishwar. So that was up to this point. Now chapter 12, which is the last chapter, in this tripartite, I told you once that you can think about Gita as broken up into 3 sections. The first section is about Tvam Pada Vichara, that means Karam Yogi and the individual. The second section from 7 to 12 is about Ishwar, Tat Pada Vichara. And the third section is about Asi, Tattvam Asi, that means the equation between Ishwar and the individual. That's from chapter 13 to 18. So now we are on chapter 12, the last one of the second section. And now what the way that this is turned now is he's saying, okay, now you understand the Swarupa. Let me tell you about how we can use Ishwar in our life. How can we use this concept of Ishwar to improve our own self, to become more capable? And it's called Bhakti Yoga. It's called Bhakti Yoga, but Bhakti, like I told you last time, Bhakti is not different from Karam Yoga or from Dhyan Yoga or anything. Bhakti is the underlying devotion that is there in all disciplines. We use the example of Roger Federer to say he has Bhakti. He has Bhakti in tennis, right? That is why he has Shraddha in tennis. That's why he has reached where he has reached. That was essential. So we have Bhakti. Bhakti is everywhere. So he takes the opportunity of Bhakti Yoga to show how Bhakti for Ishwar can help you transform yourself, right? Ishwar is a concept which is the intelligence in this all around us. He says, using that fact that intelligence controls everything is bigger than me as an individual, this body. Understanding that and appreciating that, then you develop devotion to it, bhakti to it, and that will help you grow up as an individual. That will help you conquer your ego. That will help you become more ready. He says it will give you shanti. That will give you peace. And that peace of mind will help you understand the knowledge part of it, the gyan part of it much better. Antakarna Shuddhi, jisko hum kehte rehte hain, he just calls it shanti here. Okay, so that is the overview. That's what chapter 13 is about. Any questions so far? All good?
Yeah. All good.
Okay. So I'm going to share a few. What I'll do this time is I'll just take you through some verses. Chapter 12 is very short. It's only got 20 verses. So I'll take a few of them, run them through you quickly so you can actually see what is written there. And, then we'll go from there. So I have to share, which is here. Way to make this bigger. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so can you see this?
Yep.
So this chapter actually starts again with Arjun asking the same old question. So Arjun uvacha evam satat yukta ye bhakta tvam paryupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. So what this actually means is Arjun is asking, after going through all that Vishwarupa Darshan before this in chapter 11, Arjun is still not convinced. He's still sort of, he still doesn't get it in a way, as Swami Dayanand says in his commentary. So he still is struggling with the same question. He says, what is better? Are the devotees who are constantly, Satata Yukta means who are constantly committed to you, are one with you. So abidingly committed. They meditate upon you. There is this kind of devotees who abidingly committed meditate upon you. And then there are other kind of devotees who seek you out as not subject to decline, not available for objectification. Meaning, so one set of devotees is who are basically meditators, who think of you as Ishwar, and they say, I am devoted to you, I'm committed to you, I'm meditating on you, I'm doing everything for you, I'm a bhakt of yours. That's one set of devotees. Another set of devotees are ones who understand Ishwar as avyaktam and aksharam. That means changeless and non manifest. That means they are Gyan yogis. In other words, there is one kind of devotee which is a Karam yogi, which is the first one. And there's a second kind of devotee which is a Gyan yogi, which is a sannyasi, who is basically after trying to understand Ishwar as avyaktam, right? Aksharam. Yeah. So he says between these two, who is closer to you? Who's better? Who among them is the greatest knower of yoga? Meaning, who's higher? So the same question, if you remember in chapter 3, he had asked the same question. End of chapter 2, he had asked the same question. And like 4, 5 times along the Gita, he asked the same question because he's still not confused. He's still confused. He's saying, if knowledge is everything, why should I not just go for knowledge? Why do I have to do this Karam Yoga stuff? So he asked this question again. And this time, Bhagwan responds, and he responds in a very clever fashion. So what he says is, first he says that endowed with unflinching faith, their minds committed to me, being ever united with me, those who meditate upon me are considered by me to be the most exalted. So he's saying these Karam yogis are the most exalted, right? But then he goes on to say, however, those who contemplate upon that which is not subject to decline, indefinable, not available for objectification, all pervasive, not an object of thought, which abides in Maya, does not move and is eternal. Those who have complete mastery over the group of sense organs, the sannyasis, who are always equal minded and take delight in the welfare of all beings, gain me. So, so what he's saying is that the Karam yogis are most exalted. They're great. But I can't compare a Karam yogi to a sannyasi. A sannyasi here means someone who has Brahmanishtha. A sannyasi is someone who is a Jnani. That's what he means here. I can't compare with the Jnani because there's no comparison. Jnani is me already. Jnani is not going to ask me a question for comparison, which is better, which is not better. Jnani is me. So I can't compare apples and oranges. I can only compare apples to other varieties of apples. So if you are still a person who thinks about yourself as an individual, who still has things to work on, then Karam Yogi is the best. Those who meditate upon me and do Karam Yoga and all are the most exalted. I love them. But if you're already a Jnani, then this question, all this is useless because they're already me. So isme, Swami Dayanand gave an example. I think this was given in also in Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. And the example he gave was that sometime, I think Akbar Birbal ka koi example diya tha. He said that Akbar asked his court, people in his court, which is the most exalted river in India? And a lot of people, oh, Ganga, 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 Ganga. But Birbal said, no, Yamuna. So, everybody said, what do you mean Yamuna? Ganga is the most exalted. So Akbar said, no, Birbal said, no, Yamuna is the most exalted because यमुना के तट पे कृष्ण जी का जन्म हुआ था. And he listed all the properties of Yamuna. And then he said, why not Ganga? He said, I can't compare Ganga with other rivers. Ganga is knowledge itself. Ganga is God itself. You can't say which is most exalted between something which is God or Ishwar and something which is human. So if you're talking about rivers and you call them rivers, then the rivers are Yamuna and Krishna and all these other rivers and Godavari. But Ganga is not a river. Ganga is so exalted, it's God itself. So this is how Bhagwan Krishna explained this Karam Yogi and Sannyasi to Arjun eventually. That if you're saying Gyan Yogi, someone who has Gyan already, once you have Gyan, he calls Sannyasi someone who has this Gyan. then I can't compare, you can't compare anybody. There's no comparison anymore. Because you're everything. You're Karam Yogi, you're Bhagwan, you're all, everything. But if you haven't got that Gyan, and then you're saying between a Karam Yogi and someone who is not a Karam Yogi and some other person who's trying something else, which is the most exalted? Karam Yogi is the most exalted. Yeah.
So is
Because,
this like sorry.
no. I was going to say because Arjun is not a Gyani right now. So he's trying to tell Arjun, don't don't talk about things or don't try to compare with things which are not realistic for you, which have no meaning for you. You are you have to kind of still get that knowledge. And I'm telling you, the best way to get that knowledge is through this Karam Yoga as defined in the Gita, which is karma plus meditation, dhyana, plus all the other disciplines, Hatha Yoga, all of them are part of Karam Yoga. Karam Yoga is a group of disciplines, a set of disciplines that you do in order to become better as a human being. That is Karam Yoga. That is the broad definition of Karam Yoga as per Gita. Now, this is confusing because some people make a distinction between Karam Yoga and Dhyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, and they say Dhyan means tum dhyan kar rahe ho Bhagwan ka, Karam means tum karam kar rahe ho. That is actually, if you think about it, that is not meaningful. Because Karam to sab karte hain. Even a Dhyan Yogi will do Karam. And there's no point being a Dhyan Yogi if you're doing selfish Karam. If you're saying, I'm completely in love with my own material objects and everything, but every 2 hours in a day, मैं ध्यान करूंगा. That'll take you nowhere. You can't even say, I'm a bhakt. एक तरफ मैं को बिल्कुल, I'm completely involved and engrossed in material life, and that's all that matters to me. But 2 घंटे मैं भक्ति करूंगा. That's not a bhakt. Bhakt means a person who has given everything to Ishwar. So they're basically the discipline that are हमारा जो हमारी philosophy है, जो हमारे वेदांत वगैरह हैं, they only talk about one discipline. There's only one discipline. The flavors may be different. How a person approaches it may be different, but there's only one discipline. That discipline is using the concept of Ishwar. You give yourself to Ishwar. And now, in the future, he will give you the actual ways to think about this in different ways. So maybe next page pe hai. So I'll tell you that. But yeah, Kiki, you had a question?
I was going to ask, is the difference in comparison, like the different orders of reality, is it because Gyan Yoga is Paramarthika Satyam and everything else is Vyavharika Satyam? Is it that
Gyan
kind of
Yoga is not
comparison?
Paramarthika Satyam
No,
because
no,
Gyan
that's not what I mean. What I
Yoga.
mean is that, yeah,
No, he's trying to say that a
a
Gyani,
Gyani.
yeah, a Gyani is, doesn't have these questions anymore. A Gyani doesn't see himself as separate from God. So he's not going to ask the question, which is closer to God. There is no God other than me, as far as the Gyani is concerned. So this question doesn't mean anything, right? That's what he's trying to say. For a Gyani, like, what is God and what is me? He realizes that at the end of the day, we are both the same. Okay, so let's go on to the other ones. But any other questions so far? I thought this is a nice way to sort of finally resolve this issue of sannyas and karam yoga. They are like, do your stuff. Just don't think too much about what is called what and all that. Just do what you need to do to become better. And here he actually goes ahead and gives you some more detail into how to go about it. So first he says, this is sort of the vision. In me alone, place the mind. In me also place your intellect, and then you will abide in me alone. So this is a very, very interesting and very important little snippet. So in me alone, you place the intellect means what? That intellectually, you don't have any doubts that Ishwar is this. Ishwar is Brahman. That's why I told you, let's understand what Ishwar is. If we go through, understand the Sarupa of Ishwar, understand what Ishwar is logically, then we know, when we say that Ishwar is the controller of things, Ishwar is what is making things happen, we know what he means actually. It's not another person sitting there who's drawing the strings. It's actually Ishwar is the intelligence which abides in this world. So when you understand this intellectually, when you understand this in your buddhi, right, then there are no doubts. You're not going by faith alone. You're not going by क्योंकि गीता में लिखा है इसीलिए ये ठीक होगा. At the same time, place in me alone, place your mind. This is now he's talking about devotion. He's saying whatever sentiments and emotion and devotion you have, place that also in me. So from both, from the side of your buddhi and your knowledge and reason, and from the side of your emotions and devotion, everything, commit to me wholeheartedly. There should not be any doubts in your mind कि मैंने वो ऐसे ये कर दिया लेकिन वहां पे वो doubt है. So this is his opening sort of statement on what sadhana is. Okay. I'll go through these and then I'm sure there'll be questions or doubts, so we'll discuss it. Then he says, if you are not able to absorb your mind steadily in me, Dhananjaya is Arjun, then through the practice of yoga, may you seek to reach me. So if you're already able to completely absorb your mind in me, both mind and intellect, that's what he means, buddhi and manas. If you're able to do it, great. You're good. No more Gita is over. Instruction is over. Go, enjoy your life. Have fun. But if you're not able to do that right now, then go through the practice of yoga. And here he means yoga, he means the big picture Karam Yoga. That means everything that we have studied so far in the Gita. We've talked about Karam Yoga, we've talked about Dhyan Yoga, all Bhakti, all these things put together. So that means essentially in the Veds, they say it's Karam Yoga and Dhyan Yoga. Those are the two yogas. Karam Yoga is the actions that you do, bodily actions and talking. Dhyan Yoga is the action or the activity of the mind. Emotions and all are activity of the mind. And working is often involves a lot of like a carpenter working will involve a lot of the activity of the body, and a teacher talking will involve the activity of the mouth or the speech. So all these activities are there. So they are seen as Karam Yoga and Dhyan Yoga. So do that yoga which involves all this in order that you may seek to reach me. So that means and he's talking in particular about absorbing your mind steadily in me. That means being able to concentrate on him. Then he says, if you don't have the capacity for even this, that means if you can't even do the practice of yoga either, may you become one for whom action dedicated to me is paramount. Even doing actions for my sake will gain you success. So he's saying if you can't concentrate, अभी तुम में इतनी शक्ति नहीं है कि तुम meditate कर सकते हो, because your mind is vigilant. It's all over the place. You can't focus. You can't do your meditations properly. Then dedicate your action to me. That means Ishwar Arpan Buddhi. This is another way of saying Ishwar Arpan Buddhi. Everything you do, you give it to me. Say, I'm doing it for you, for Bhagwan. Then he goes on to say, if you're not able to do even that, then being one whose commitment is dedicating all actions to me, then the disciplined mind give up the results of the action. So if you can't, that means if you can't dedicate your actions to me, then at least then what you should do is give up the results of the action. That means Ishwar Prasad Buddhi. So Ishwar Arpan Buddhi means whatever I do for God. Ishwar Prasad Buddhi means, okay, even if I don't do everything for God, I have lots of desires, I have lots of things I want to do, I have lots of ambition. मेरा बहुत कुछ करना है मुझे. वो करो. Thinking, forget about the doing it for God, do it for yourself. But when the results come for that activity, dedicate that results to me. That means think about the results as my prasad. This is the starting point of Karma Yoga. And then he actually explains beyond that also. He says, well, actually, I won't go there right now. I just want us to make sure we understand this. So, a person who doesn't think of Ishwar, dedicate anything to Ishwar, is only talking about himself, doing everything for himself or herself, right? Better than that person is someone who's doing everything for himself, but then dedicates results to Ishwar. And Swami Dayanand points out that in India, there are a lot of such people. There are a lot of such people who are, you know, who are very much part of this world, but they don't forget God. When something good happens, they thank God. When something bad happens, they again go to God. They have a connection with God. Now, they may not yet be able to dedicate the results completely to God, because the step from there is to say, okay, this is God's. What has been given to you is from God. Good and bad is all belonging to God. When that happens, when you are able to do that, you get immediate shanti, release of stress. That is why this is so good. But this is where most people are. The fringe of this is where most people are. They can't say, I'm going to dedicate my actions to God, because, we want to do our actions for ourselves. We have so many desires we want to do. If you want to be a doctor, Sanjay, you may not just want to be a doctor for the sake of God. You may have wanted to be a doctor because of your own ambition, because of your own desire to help, right? And that's totally fine. But if you can say the results that I'm getting are coming from God, if you can understand that from your mind also and from your intellect also, then that is a very big step in Karma Yoga. In fact, actually, Swami Dayanand says that this sequence of mantras or shloks may make you think that one is better than the other. That the 12.9 is the best. वो नहीं कर सकते तो 12.10, वो नहीं कर सकते 12.11, right? It makes you feel like one is better than the other, but actually that is not so. If you can just do this 12.11, that means you can dedicate the fruits of your action, the results, to God, and consider everything as God's prasad. That is enough. So he says, don't think of it as one better than the other. Think of it as some people can do this, some people can do this, and some people can do this. Whatever works for you. That's the way to think about it. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a minute before we go further. Just in these three, any 12.8, 9, 10, 11, any questions, doubts?
So, in 12.8, he talks about both buddhi and manas.
Right.
In 12.9, he only talks about manas.
No, it's
Well, I
both
mean,
buddhi. All of them are both buddhi and manas. 9, 10, 11 are all buddhi and manas.
but you parse 12.8 particularly to say, place your mind and place the intellect.
Right. So that's an
But
overarching
12,
thing.
okay.
It's an overarching umbrella sort of a sutra, you can say. It applies
Yeah.
to everything.
I mean, it just feels like so much of this is, anyway.
No,
And like 12.8 is so much the interpretation that mind and intellect have been separately mentioned. So mind is manas and intellect is buddhi. But 12.9, then we say, okay, 12.9, he really, even though he says mind, he really means, like, I don't know if he uses manas in 12.8 and 12.9, but
so he
in
says
12.9,
chittam.
then we say really
He says
it's
chittam.
chittam, okay.
Okay. And then
But in 12.8, he does say manas and buddhi separately. Yeah.
but they
Maybe
are
it's
the
just the
same thing. See,
translation.
manas and buddhi are not two different things. Manas and buddhi are the same antakarna in different modes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What he's trying to say is, the intent of what he's trying to say in 12.8 is that when you say conviction is a complete conviction. If you can understand something intellectually, but you can't get yourself to follow it because your mind says something else. That's not conviction. On the other hand, if you force yourself to do something without really understanding, based on faith alone, कि ओ मेरी मम्मी पापा ने कहा ये अच्छा होगा या भगवान ने कहा ये ठीक है, that is also not conviction. Conviction has both sides to it. Understanding something rationally and intelligently with using your buddhi and logically, and also being able to understand it so much that your actions, that your mind is also aligned with the buddhi. Both have to be together. That's what he's trying to say.
So if my buddhi is not good enough that I really absorb it, like, is that the starting point? What I'm saying is, supposing I feel that I can't, if my buddhi is not good enough to really completely ingest it and be convinced of it, is that just as a starting point? Then I'm nowhere after that.
No.
If
So, okay, let me answer that question, because I know you've asked this question before also. So, first of all, and this is just an aside, I just want to place on record that my opinion is that it is not, that your buddhi is not good enough. Okay? You can understand something, even a very intelligent person can understand something, but do completely different. It's a very common phenomena in the world, in life. A doctor can know that smoking is bad, but cannot stop smoking. So this has got nothing to do with the buddhi. The way Vedant analyzes this has to do with antakarna shuddhi. And the way to go about, and antakarna shuddhi also has value judgment attached. So don't think about it like that. It's not that your mind is impure. That's not what it means. And somebody else's mind is pure. The way that you go about it is Karam Yoga. So what, and Karam Yoga is a fantastic tool to do it. Because what Karam Yoga tells you is, see, we may believe in one thing in our mind, but till we see it in action, our conviction is not complete. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. We may say, oh, intellectually, I don't need anything. I am intellectually, Gita is telling you, you need only yourself to be happy. But on your day-to-day basis, you need all the people around you, right? The two are not matching up in your mind.
yeah.
So how will you ever have conviction? So Karam Yoga helps you bridge this gap. What Karam Yoga does is it says, okay, don't give up everything all at one go and say this is this. Take a small thing. Take one thing and say, I'm going to give this to God. मैंने त्याग दिया इसको. See what happens. See what actually happens. And what Karam Yoga promises you is that when you take this small step, you will gain shanti, not sorrow. You won't feel a sense of loss because मैंने किसी चीज को त्याग दिया. You will feel a sense of peace. When you start, and as you start doing that a little bit, you start taking that step. It's like you take a little step, then you get some little conviction, then you study more. That study now will have a different meaning for you because you're reading it with conviction. The same Upanishads and the same Gita, when you read, afterwards you'll get a completely different meaning from it. Because you'll get the deeper knowledge from it because you already crossed one barrier. Then you do more of Karam Yoga, you read more of Gita, you do more of Karam. It's a this is the only way, actually, I would say, to gain conviction. The only way. If you're not able to, in your life, see that, Ishwar Arpan Buddhi and Ishwar Prasad Buddhi is bringing me peace. If you don't feel that peace in your life, you will never gain conviction. Never. I mean, I never say never, but I'm just saying, my opinion, you will not gain conviction. Like, you have to be a real genius who can intellectually only do everything and say, okay, this is it. I'm so convinced about my intelligence that I'm going to go ahead and follow it and nothing else. That requires some extraordinary skills, like superhuman skills. For us humans, we need to get some proof, some validation as we go along. And Karam Yoga gives you that validation as you go along. And I'm saying this from personal experience. So just so you know, it's very true. I mean, you can even think about your own life, how much you have lost in your life, gained and lost in anything, and to what extent has it really made a difference to you? What has really made a difference in your life as you look back on 60 odd years that we've all spent in this world? Right? What has actually been the provider of happiness? What has provided unhappiness? And you'll find attachments and these things that we crave so much have provided more unhappiness than happiness, if you really objectively think about it. Anyway, so it's not that intelligence alone will drive you to such an extent that your emotions will follow. No, the two
Yeah.
go hand in hand. And this thing which is called the practice of living this vision slowly is what's called Antakarna Shuddhi. That's Antakarna Shuddhi. That is Karam Yoga. That is what it is. And there are different mechanisms being given, but that's what is actually happening. Bit by bit, you're putting your toe in the water. Kitna thanda hai? Oh, okay, I think I can go a little further. I can go a little further into the ocean. And then pretty soon you'll start swimming. That's Karam Yoga. So this much I can do. Beyond this, the step you have to take.
Yeah. But in practical terms, then, let's say for me, for all of us, when you say something like attachments cause more sorrow than happiness. So in practical terms, then we can start with 12-11 and say,
start with 12-11. And remember the difference between attachment and love. Attachment causes unhappiness, not love. When attachment goes, love starts. Attachment is about my feelings.
Yeah. Self-preservation.
And how I am feeling about a particular relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, my expectations were not met. This girl was horrible. This guy was bad. मैंने इतना करा, उसने कुछ नहीं करा. That's attachment. Love means you know that you are complete in yourself. You don't need that relationship to complete yourself.
Yeah.
You are enjoying that other person for what that other person is. That is love.
Yes, but I always thought that love came from knowledge. I always thought that love came from 12-8 to place, in me may you place your intellect.
No, love, well, it both, when you have love, it will help you grow your intellect. It's like that. You need to experience the love to know what love is so that you can give up attachments. It's experience. At the end of the day, it's the experience of the knowledge which you have to gain conviction. That's nididhyasana.
Yeah.
Right? Because then only you will gain conviction. Otherwise, it will be a thing which is out there and, it will be a philosophy otherwise.
Agreed.
जैसे मेरा संस्कृत teacher है, he was telling me yesterday in my class, he was saying he is a gold medalist from Bombay University. कहता है मैंने वेदांत की क्लास ली थी, मैंने पूरी ब्रह्मसूत्र पढ़ी है and पूरी शंकर भाष्यम पढ़ी है in संस्कृत. So he said हमारे जो एग्जाम्स होते हैं, that is about, the content of what is written there, the grammar, what is it, it's like any other topic of knowledge. So you don't want that. That's not our objective with Vedant, right? If you only understand these 1, 2, 3, 4, right, and totally understand them, that's enough. We don't need to know any more Vedant. Of course, to totally understand them, we also need to understand Ishwar. We also need to understand who I am, a little bit more. But we don't need to do any more study if we totally get it. And you can do all this study and understand this also. And if you're not practicing Karam Yoga, if you're not trying to apply it in your life, then you still won't get it. Okay, shall we move on? Sorry, I'm trying to keep the time in mind also. So then he just describes here in 12:12, knowledge is better indeed than the practice of yoga. Meditation is superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the results of action is better than meditation, because of renunciation there's peace immediately. So here you have to understand this knowledge. When he says knowledge, he's not talking about Brahma Vidya or Atma Gyan. He's talking about knowledge of क्या कहते हैं उसको, पुरुषार्थ, your objective. So he's now going back and saying that some people just do abhyas. See, इसमें लिखा है ना 12:12, ज्ञानम अभ्यासात, या ज्ञानम अभ्यास आत, ये जो है ये संधि है, so it's actually ज्ञानम अभ्यास आत. When you have a sandhi with a gyan, it becomes j. So ज्ञानम अभ्यासात means अभ्यास से ज्यादा ज्ञानम, अभ्यास से ज्ञानम. So abhyas means practice. That means you do something repetitively. That is called abhyas. So in life, a lot of people are just working. They don't know what they're working about. They don't know what their goal is. They are just working. दिन से शाम तक काम करते रहते हैं, शाम को सो जाते हैं, थोड़ा टीवी देखते हैं, फिर अगले दिन फिर काम करते हैं, फिर थोड़ी. I mean, they're just in a rut. So he's saying उससे better है than just doing this abhyas. उससे better है to have a objective. ऑब्जेक्टिव मतलब कुछ भी ऑब्जेक्टिव हो, क्योंकि मैंने संस्कृत सीखनी है, वो ऑब्जेक्टिव है, चलो वही कर लो. या मैंने गीता सीखनी है, या मैंने डॉक्टर बनना है, योर पुरुषार्थ. सो हैव एन ऑब्जेक्टिव एंड देन डू द अभ्यास विद द ऑब्जेक्टिव. दैट इज मच बेटर. सो यू आर गोइंग समवेयर. सो ही इज सेइंग श्रेय मतलब बेटर, ही इंडीड ज्ञानम अभ्यासात, मतलब ज्ञान फ्रॉम अभ्यास ज्ञान इज बेटर, राइट. Then he's saying ज्ञानात ध्यानम विशिष्यते. So ज्ञान से better ध्यान है. So this meditation, which means here the meditation he means the Karam Yoga, the Karam Yoga, which involves Ishwar Arpan Buddhi, Ishwar Prasad Buddhi, meditation, all of that. That is even better than having just a objective of, say, becoming a doctor eventually. And then he says, Dhyanat karam phal tyag. That means from dhyan, karam phal tyag is even better. Tyagat shanti anantaram. So what he's saying is that ये सब कुछ ठीक है, ये सब बहुत अच्छा है. If you can only do this, that means your karam phal tyag, that means number 12:11. Give up your results of action to me. That itself is even very good, even better than everything. Just do that. ये सब करने के बजाय यही करो. Give the results of your action to me. That is very good. Because why? Because tyagat shantim anantaram. That means from tyag you get shanti right away. If you are able to dedicate the results of action, prasad buddhi, to Bhagavan, you get shanti right away. That's what he's saying. Okay? Do you understand? मतलब एक आदमी है ऐसे ही रट में काम करते जा रहा है, रैट रेस में भरा हुआ है, राइट. हम भी रैट रेस में भरे हुए थे बड़ी देर तक. उससे बेटर है टू हैव सम पुरुषार्थ, टू हैव सम ऑब्जेक्टिव इन योर लाइफ. कुछ करो. उससे भी बेटर है कर्मयोग बनो, कर्मयोगी बनो. बट ही सेइंग वो सब छोड़ो. उससे भी बेटर है अपना जो तुम्हारा कर्म फल है वो त्याग दो, वो भगवान को दे दो. वो सिंपल सोल्यूशन है. You don't even have to go through all that. It's very, very simple if you can do that. And on this, Swami Dayanand writes in his commentary on the Gita, he says, if you can't even do that, pretend to do that. Fake it till you can make it. So, भगवान का नाम लेना शुरू कर दो. कि मैंने ये भगवान के लिए, like I see mummy, for example, कि she keeps saying that all the time, वो खाने के बाद नारायण, like that kind of thing. And a lot of old people in India, or people in India, they do it. It's a mechanism to get the engine moving. So Karam Yoga really believes in that. Karam Yoga is about behavior changes your attitude. That is what Karam Yoga is. So the Gyan part, जो हमारी knowledge है, that works on our attitude, on our mindset. हमको बताता है ऐसे ऐसे होना चाहिए, ऐसे होना चाहिए. They can't affect the behavior directly. On the other hand, Karam Yoga is saying, okay, वो ठीक है, my attitude, change your behavior little by little. Attitude will take care of itself. So when you do both of them together, you're attacking the problem from both ends. You're changing your attitude and you're changing your behavior. That's what works. You need this double, so I think Gita में कहते हैं ना, Gita is like a bird. One wing is Gyan, the other wing is Karam Yoga. So it flaps, both the wings have to flap for the bird to fly. And then 13 and 14, I think he just describes, Krishna Bhagwan describes what is the vision. What is that person who is a Gyani? The one who has no hatred for all beings, Adveshta. Actually, it's more interesting in Sanskrit, it's more impactful. So, Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. Adveshta means Raga Dvesh कहते हैं ना, Dvesh is hatred. Adveshta मतलब किसी के लिए घृणा नहीं है, hatred नहीं है. सर्व भूतानाम, सब लोग, सब भूतों के लिए, सब all living beings. मैत्रः करुणा एव च, और उनके लिए फ्रेंडशिप है, मैत्री है, और करुणा कंपैशन है. एव मतलब ओनली. निर्ममो निरहंकारः. निर्ममः मतलब ममा क्या होता है? ममा मीन्स माइन. जो मेरा आता है ना, मेरा इन संस्कृत कॉल्ड ममा. ममा कप, दिस इज माय कप, ममा shirt, my shirt. So mama means mera. Nirmama means that sense of mera-ship is not there. No sense of ownership कि मेरा है, ये नहीं है. Nirahankara means I don't see myself. Ahankar क्या होता है? The thing which says you are this. I don't see myself as this. Sam sukha dukha, sam dukha sukha kshami. So sam dukha sukha means dukh और सुख में sam. Sam means equal. Samata. The same in dukh and sukh. Shami. Shami means forgiving. Someone who's forgiving. Someone who's not, चीज देख कर पकड़ बैठ नहीं आता किसी चीज को. He's forgiving to himself and to everybody else. Naturally accommodative. That's how he calls it. Naturally accommodative. So the one who has no hatred for all beings, disposition of a friend, compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from doership, equal in pleasant and unpleasant situations, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. Then santushtaha, satatam yogi. Santushtaha means obvious, santusht hai. Satatam yogi. Satatam means always, hamesha. Yogi means always united. So one who is completely satisfied, who is always united, who has drid nishchaya, yat atma drid nishchaya, who has mastery over his mind, who is a certain mental. So yat atma means जिसको अपनी आत्मा पे, अपने ऊपर पूरी mastery है, and drid nishchaya means who has certainty. So this is important to this. This comes from the buddhi. Only buddhi brings you drid nishchaya, right? Whose ascertainment is firm, whose mind and intellect are resolved in me, who is my devotee, is beloved to me. So, Mai arpitam, matlab, Mai means to me, in me. Mai is in me, arpitam, arpit kar diya, right? Buddhi yoho, mano buddhi yoho. Mano buddhi yoho means man and buddhi ko. Mad bhakta, mera bhakt, sah, he, me, mujhe, priya. Okay? So this is pretty much. I mean, then the next other verses in Bhakti Yoga go further into all this. They describe him in a different way, but it's basically the same thing. Okay, so that's it from my side. any other? Let me just shut this off. So Gita doesn't say Karma Yoga is separate, Ye Yoga is separate, वगैरह. Gita uses a technique where you leverage Ishwar to gain Shanti. That's the technique Gita uses. Actually, all Upanishads use that technique. Some don't focus that much on the karma part. Gita focuses a lot on the karma part. So that's why this Ishwar is very prominent in the Gita. But some Upanishads like Ken Upanishad, focuses mainly on the Gyan. So the Ishwar is not that prominent. But that's the philosophy. Now you can say I don't believe in Ishwar. Okay, then whatever you believe in, whatever is, you have to admit that there is a order in the universe. There is things are happening without you doing anything. Things are happening. You didn't create this universe. You didn't sustain. You're not sustaining the universe, right? All that is happening. You don't even know what is going on. So whatever it is, that power that you believe in or whatever, you have to find out what is. First of all, you have to find out. You may have never thought about it. So then you have to think about it, and then see yourself in relation to that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the learnings today. I think this is probably the most practical session in terms of the karma yoga part. It's actually eye-opening, I think. Pretty direct.
Pretty direct and directly from the Gita. कुछ मैंने
Yeah.
नहीं सीख रहा.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to show you the actual verses, because I think they have a much bigger impact than somebody else who's even if a guru is describing it to you. There's nothing like reading it from the source. मैं कितनी बार भी कहूँ ईश्वर अर्पण बुद्धि, ईश्वर प्रसाद बुद्धि, ठीक है, वो बोल दिया उसने. But यहाँ तो लिखा हुआ है सामने तुम्हारे.
Yeah, but some of the things are not as hard as one thought, right? I mean, you look at everything we are learning, and managing the mind, and your intelligence, and um, I mean, prasad arpan is not a hard thing. I mean, you can fake it, like you say initially, and then it it becomes now more natural, just like anything else, right?
Yes.
But it's
So,
very hard if you don't know what Ishwar is, right?
right. I mean, I think the basis of Ishwar and Brahman do need to exist, right? Because otherwise, then you can't really,
Right.
you do have no motivation
Right.
otherwise to do
I
the
would say to you
action.
is, Rajiv, imagine yourself 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Would it be hard then compared to where you are now?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Right? So what is the difference?
Yeah. The
Why
knowledge.
has that hard become easy? Because of your
Yeah.
readiness.
Yeah.
If you're ready, when you're ready, it's not hard at all.
Mhm.
Right? That's what it is.
I think the for me, the learning today is the recipe for Nidhyasana, right? The third part, which is um, always, you start somewhere, but sustaining it is hard. But here is a ladder that you can actually,
Yeah.
apply to yourself, and you'll get better at it. So I think that's been very positive.
Yeah, it's true. This is the
And
practical side of Gita. Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say the lowest rung of the ladder being fake it till you make it is sort of that's very convenient,
I think we are all better than that. I mean, I can talk more about myself. I mean, you're trying to better yourself, but sometimes, um, there's so much going on that you feel lost a little bit. So, if you can go back to this page every time, and just relate to it, I think it'll make it easier.
I think that's very true. There's a lot going on and you can get lost.
Yeah.
That's the problem with too much knowledge when it's not,
Yeah.
when it's not realized at the
I
same
mean,
time.
I can share with you, like, I try to meditate a couple of times a day, but last 3 weeks have been, turbulent, and with the baby and all, and off went the meditation and all, and so you feel like, okay, lost, all this time, and but I'm just saying the state of the mind, right? I mean, it
I
ebbs
think
and
if you get this one more thing, which is that nothing is lost. I mean, I'm just saying what is happening without you knowing is that you're getting more and more ready. You're baking, you're cooking.
flows.
You don't know it. You don't realize it from a day to day. You can't say, Aaj I am better than yesterday because today I could meditate a little more. Tomorrow I'm better. Don't think in these short term things. Just understand what it takes to truly um, get what Gita is saying, what Vedanta is saying, and that is readiness. And you don't have to make yourself ready as such. Life makes you ready. So whether you like it or not, every experience that you have, every round, I mean, right now, a big experience in your life is your granddaughter. And that's another cycle you're going through, right? And that's fine. That's a great experience. Like, enjoy it. And it'll also, like any other experience, this experience will also help to make you ready. And you don't have to do this in the next year, 10 years of sanity left or 20 years of sanity left उसी में करना है ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है जब होता है तो ऐसे ही होता है and there's like Gita says there are plenty of lifetimes ahead. That's another reason why I think why they say this lifetimes ka thing, because with lifetimes it puts your mind at rest. You stop thinking, oh, I'm so short of time. You're stressing yourself, and when you're stressing yourself, you will make less progress. So it's a good way for people to say, okay, don't worry about how much time is left or whatever. Just do what you have to do today, right now. That's it. And that's how I think, because I don't know whether, what these lifetimes means, whether there is really a lifetime or not or whatever. I mean, for me, the acid test is at this moment, just now, you should be at peace. I should be at peace. Am I at peace? If I'm not at peace at this moment, just now, I better investigate why. Because I know better. I know that I should be. Right? So, and it's not easy but that's a pretty significant job to do. It can take you a lifetime to do that job. It's a worthwhile job to do, but it's a significant job to do, to investigate why you're not at peace right now.
I think
But but I
your
think my
point of
investigation goes a step further. Like after whole of the day, was I type, am I at peace all the time? And second investigation is, uh, was it, did I lose peace in tough situations?
Right.
That's a big question mark. That's a big learning thing we have to go through. When you see in normal circumstances, being at peace is no
No big
test.
deal. Yeah. True.
But when there are testing times, how was your behavior? How was your attitude? Were you really following what you have learned in Vedanta? The way to behave, way to tackle situation, way to tackle people. Was there a difference? And at the end of the event, were you peaceful and happy and contented? Or did you lose your temper and now you are disturbed and losing sleep? I think that's much more important.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's true.
So if you have done a good job in those situations, I think, yes, we are on the learning curve is rising.
No. I mean, if you are doing the investigation, then itself is a good job. Like, at least there's no, so don't worry about what I'm saying is don't worry about the result. Just do what needs to be done. Investigation needs to be done, so do that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So do you think it's a cop-out? Like sometimes for me, I will just say, okay, I am not at peace right now. I am at peace right now. It doesn't really, like, if I am just aware of it, but that's all I do, that I'm aware of it. And I just say it's okay. sometimes there's peace, sometimes there's not peace. Do you think that's a cop-out?
That's an interesting question.
No, it's not.
Because
Nothing. That cop out
because
itself is a interesting term, you know. Like, what are you copping out of? Like, do you have to do something which you're copping out of? Like, it
no,
seems
I'm
like
just
you're-
it didn't occur to me before this discussion right now, because I don't try. I just become aware that, okay, yeah, right now this is what's happening in my mind. Sometimes if it's not peaceful, then I just become aware it's not peaceful. Then I know, okay, it'll pass in some time.
yeah,
But that's
great.
all.
Yeah,
But then I hadn't thought of improving, or
that's okay. You know, you have your own way of doing
I
it. I
don't
was just
have.
giving an example of what I'm
Okay.
doing.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's
I'm
all.
just,
It's
that's
not.
why I asked if it's a cop out in context of our conversation.
No,
Maybe
I mean,
am I kidding
see,
myself?
when you think about it in terms of, you know, then if this cop out feeling comes, it introduces guilt. It introduces.
No.
You should not.
Yeah, I know,
That's what I want to say. It's
But
not
the
like
cop
a
out
test
feeling,
that you have to do certain
yeah,
things and then you're copping out and not
yeah,
doing them. कोई ऐसी-
yeah.
It's not a. There's not a religion. You know, you have to do puja 3 times a day.
No. In
And
fact, the
you-
cop out and the guilt also become part of those, the mindscape. So that's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
They will also go.
Okay. Mukta, you were totally quiet today.
Yeah, just I'm physically present only today.
Oh,
You're very
you have a
tired.
long day.
Yeah, kind of. So first I was
Hmm.
thinking I'll skip it, then I said, okay, no, I'll just attend, then I'll listen to it again.
Okay.
Hmm.
All good.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Okay. Yeah. Listen to it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we
Yeah.
call it a day then?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Chalo, we'll see you in 2
Okay.
weeks then. So are you okay
Okay.
with, let's say now section abhi 13 pe jayenge? Do you and Mukta, you can tell me after listening. Do you want us to go into the actual shlokas of the Gita or just talk in general? Like what we did today is unusual, right? We sometimes I go into the shloks, but not usually.
I thought it was
You are
very
the
nice.
best.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll ask, you go through it and before maybe between the next 2 weeks, I'll check with you guys. How you
Okay.
want to do it. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.